Imagine spending like thousands of dollars a month on this piece of software, and it promises to hand you a list of just guaranteed, ready-to-go buyers.
Right. The absolute dream scenario.
Exactly. But then you find out it's actually actively training your own customers to block your phone number.
Yeah. It's a brutal reality check.
You sign up for this tool thinking you're getting like a map to buried treasure, but instead you're just paying for the privilege of annoying the people who already do business with you.
Which is so counterproductive. I mean, we have this deep-seated assumption in business that if data is mathematically perfect, the human response to it will be perfectly predictable too.
Oh, for sure.
We really want to believe that a financial condition is the exact same thing as a buying motive,
Yeah.
and it's just not.
And whether you work in sales or marketing, or honestly, if you're just someone who is completely exhausted by getting those spammy texts from companies trying to sell you things.
Oh, we all get those. It's so annoying.
Right. This deep dive is really going to resonate with you. So today, our mission is unpacking a single comprehensive source about a dealership marketing strategy known as equity mining.
It's a huge topic in automotive retail right now.
It really is.
Hmm.
We are going to look at why businesses fail so spectacularly when they treat raw financial data as a substitute for actual emotional intent.
Yeah, because the data only tells you what someone could do, not what they want to do.
Okay, let's unpack this. On paper, equity mining sounds incredibly smart, like foolproof.
Oh, the pitch is amazing. A software vendor walks into a car dealership and says, hey, we can mine your database.
Meaning their CRM, right?
Exactly. Their customer relationship management system. It's basically the dealership's massive digital Rolodex of past buyers, service customers, everyone.
And the vendor says, we will find the hidden gold in there.
Yes. The entire pitch is built around identifying people who are in a mathematically advantageous position to trade in their vehicles.
So they're looking for what, exactly?
Well, the system filters for people who are, like, nearing the end of a lease. Or maybe people driving specific used models the dealership desperately needs for their lot. But mostly...
Mostly people with positive equity.
Right. That's the holy grail for these tools.
Just to quickly clarify the mechanics for everyone listening, positive equity is when your car is actually worth more than what you still owe the bank on your auto loan, right?
Precisely.
So if I owe, say, $10,000, but the car is worth $15,000, I have $5,000 in positive equity.
You've got it. You have an asset that currently holds more value than the debt attached to it.
Okay, makes sense.
So the vendor runs the algorithm, right? And they show the general manager this beautiful, completely sterile dashboard.
Just full of names.
Just a neatly organized list of names. And they're all flagged as prime opportunities to upgrade their vehicle or maybe lower their monthly payment or move into a newer model.
It's basically like treating your database like an ATM, but you don't actually know anyone's peon.
That is a great way to put it.
I mean, it's like looking at a stranger's bank account, seeing they have $500 in disposable income, and just calling them up to demand they buy a new TV simply because they can technically afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know the math works, but you have zero context for their actual life.
And that is the perfect way to frame the disconnect here. The illusion is the dashboard itself. I mean, the vendor sees a monthly software fee.
Naturally.
The manager sees a list of names. But a list is not a conversation.
Right.
A list is definitely not a showroom appointment. And a list is not a sold car.
So if the list is full of people who mathematically should buy a car, why does the reality look more like a swamp than a gold mine?
Because the breakdown happens the exact second the salesperson picks up the phone.
Oh, man.
You move from that perfectly organized algorithm
Yeah.
into the messy, completely unpredictable swamp of human interaction.
The source actually outlines what happens when those calls are made, and it's pretty painful.
It's a disaster.
The salesperson dials the number expecting this really easy win, and instead they get wrong numbers.
Or sent straight to voicemail.
Right. They get customers who already bought a car somewhere else. Or they reach someone who just loves their current vehicle and has absolutely no intention of selling it.
Or worse, they get the person who screams, "You people call me every single month. Stop calling me."
Yes. The dreaded "stop calling me" customer.
What's fascinating here is the fundamental flaw in how the tool is being used. Equity mining assumes that a financial condition is a catalyst.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
It takes a possible mathematical position, having equity, and treats it like actual human intent. The software finds the customer, but it is completely blind to the reason the customer should actually care.
But wait, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Let me push back on this premise.
Sure.
If a tool tells me, or someone calls me up and says, hey, I can lower your monthly car payment by $50 because of the equity sitting in your driveway, shouldn't I be thrilled to upgrade?
It sounds super appealing, right?
I mean, who doesn't want $50 extra a month in their pocket, even if their car is running perfectly fine?
Well, it sounds appealing until you factor in the friction of the transaction.
Friction. Okay.
Buying a car is a major life event.
Mm.
It requires time. You take a hard credit inquiry. There's paperwork,
The negotiating. Yeah.
and you're often restarting a loan clock for another 5 or 6 years. Intent does not come from the math. Intent comes from pressure.
Pressure.
Yes. Having equity does not mean you have a problem that requires you to endure all that friction of buying a car.
So it's the difference between having the means to buy and the actual motivation to buy.
Exactly. You might have thousands in equity, but you also might be fiercely trying to avoid taking on a new debt cycle.
Or I might just love my car.
Right. Or you might need your specific truck for your contracting job and a new one is just too expensive. Or maybe you absolutely despise the current interest rate environment.
Oh, yeah, the rates right now.
Yeah. So equity alone does not solve a problem if the customer does not perceive a problem in their daily life.
That distinction makes a lot of sense. So pressure is something tangible. Pressure is a family that just had twins and suddenly realizes they physically cannot fit 3 car seats across the back of their compact sedan.
Yes. That is pressure. Pressure is the sudden need for a minivan.
Right.
Pressure is a $2,000 unexpected repair bill on a failing transmission.
Ouch.
Or a manufacturer warranty that expired last week, leaving the owner terrified of being on the hook for the next breakdown.
Okay, so if a customer is experiencing one of those pressures, the equity might be the financial tool that helps them solve it.
Exactly. But without the pressure, the equity is just a meaningless number on a spreadsheet.
And because the software can't detect that pressure it doesn't know you just had twins.
No, of course not.
The burden falls completely on the salesperson.
Yeah.
They are handed this list of names and expected to just magically create urgency out of thin air over a cold phone call.
Which is nearly impossible.
Let's look at the mechanics of how that actually plays out internally, like on the sales floor, because the source really dives into this internal breakdown.
It's fascinating.
Imagine you pick up your phone and it is Nick from ABC Motors. And Nick is clearly reading from a generic script. He says, great news, we were reviewing our records and your vehicle may be worth more than you think.
Right. Or the classic, you may be able to upgrade today.
Customers are smart. They are highly attuned to that specific language. They translate it instantly.
They absolutely do. They hear, this dealer wants to sell me something. There is no value proposition for the consumer there. It is entirely self-serving for the business.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the psychological toll this takes on the dealership's own staff.
Oh, it destroys morale. Sales representatives quickly learn which leads have context and which leads are essentially punishment.
Punishment. That's a strong word, but I get it.
Well, a strong lead has a clear narrative. A weak lead is just a name attached to a theory. And equity mining, when used poorly, produces just an endless stream of weak leads.
Because there's no hook.
Exactly. The sales rep gets rejected repeatedly because they have no real hook to emotionally engage the person on the other end of the line.
They're just calling to say you have math in your favor.
Right. And after 30 calls where people either hang up immediately or get actively angry about the interruption, the salesperson just stops believing the list has any value.
And once the team stops believing in the tool, nobody works it properly. The software is basically dead.
Yep. But the vendor keeps billing.
The vendor is still billing the dealership every single month. The dashboard still shows 1,000 quote-unquote opportunities, but nobody in the building is actually picking up the phone.
Precisely. And we have to examine why the salespeople lose faith so quickly. It's not just the rejection. It's the fact that the underlying math is often deeply flawed.
Ah, yes. The source calls it fragile math. I love the analogy it uses here. It compares the equity estimate to an online real estate estimate.
Oh, like Zillow or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a real estate app sending you a notification that your house is worth $1 million. So you get all excited, you call an agent, and then the home inspector shows up and finds like a sinking foundation and walls completely eaten by termites.
The algorithm didn't know about the termites.
Exactly. So explain this fragile math to us. In the automotive context, why are these equity estimates so easily broken?
To understand the fragility, We have to look at the mechanics of an auto loan intersecting with vehicle depreciation.
Okay.
Most car loans are simple interest, but the depreciation of a new vehicle is heavily front-loaded. It drops in value the exact second you drive it off the lot.
Right, the old cliche.
It's true, though. For the first few years, the customer almost always owes more than the vehicle is actually worth.
They're underwater.
Right, the lines on the graph. So loan balance going down and the vehicle value going down, they don't cross until year 3 or 4.
And that crossing point is the promised land of positive equity.
Yes. So the software is trying to predict exactly when those two lines intersect for every single customer in the database.
How does it do that?
The software uses VIN decoding APIs, basically application programming interfaces that pull standard vehicle data. And it cross-references that with average depreciation curves and assumed loan payoff amounts.
Assumed being the key word.
Very much so, because algorithms cannot see the physical world.
So if this math relies on an assumed average condition, it means like a single pothole that bent a rim or a scraped bumper from a parking garage could destroy the entire marketing pitch.
That is a major part of it, yes. The algorithm cannot see the cigarette burns on the upholstery.
Right.
It does not know that the customer deferred their last 2 loan payments, which changed the payoff timeline completely. It often fails to account for negative equity that the customer rolled over from a previous loan into their current one.
Wow. So there are just so many variables that can blow up the math, which sets up a massive collision with reality.
It really does.
The marketing tool sends out an email claiming the customer has, let's say, $5,000 in equity. The customer actually bites. They drive down to the dealership expecting this great deal.
And then the appraisal happens.
Right. The appraiser walks around the car, checks the actual loan payoff, and the desk comes back with an offer that is thousands of dollars lower than what the marketing email promised.
It creates a highly combative environment. The customer feels tricked. The salesperson is put in the terrible position of having to explain the gap between a marketing algorithm's promise and the showroom's physical reality.
Which makes the dealership look like it just pulled a massive bait and switch.
Burning trust with an existing customer. It's the worst possible outcome.
Which really brings us to a larger marketing philosophy problem here. When dealerships rely entirely on these fragile mathematical guesses, they stop doing actual marketing and they just start spamming people.
Yes. It becomes an exercise in database extraction rather than demand creation.
Database extraction, that sounds painful.
It is. Instead of creating new demand, the business is just squeezing the same names in its database over and over with texts, calls, and emails.
Let's zero in on the tired messaging the source calls out. Campaigns built around the phrase, "We need your trade." Every dealer uses this. They claim high demand or inventory shortages.
It's everywhere.
But I have to ask, isn't it possible they actually need the trade? Like maybe there genuinely is an inventory shortage for 3-year-old SUVs and the used car manager is desperate.
Oh, it is entirely possible. In fact, it's often true. Used inventory is the absolute lifeblood of a dealership.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the easy and safe language they use doesn't create urgency for the customer. The message is completely self-interested. Think about it from the consumer's perspective. The dealership is saying, "We want your car because it helps us."
Basically, please inconvenience yourself to help me hit my monthly quota.
Exactly. Even if the inventory shortage is real, that doesn't create urgency for you.
Yeah.
It just creates instant skepticism.
Yeah, I instantly assume I'm getting ripped off.
Exactly. Software vendors build campaigns around this, "We need your trade language," because it's easy to automate. But generic noise does not give a customer a reason to alter their life today.
If you've ever gotten 3 emails in a single week from a company you bought a pair of shoes from 2 years ago, pushing a generic "we miss you" discount, you are on the receiving end of exactly this kind of broken the software strategy.
Oh, totally. The company thinks they're nurturing a lead, but the customer feels hunted.
And they hit unsubscribe.
The unsubscribe rates skyrocket. Phone numbers get blocked. The dealership damages its own database. By the time that customer actually does experience a life event that requires a new vehicle, they have already trained themselves to ignore your brand entirely.
And yet, and this is the crazy part to me, despite the burned trust and the blocked numbers, the vendors selling this software will still sit down for a quarterly review, point to their dashboard and say, "Look at these reports. You sold 30 cars to people on our list this month."
The tool is paying for itself.
Yes. So how do they justify that?
Well, this raises an important question, and it's perhaps the most critical analytical concept in the source material, the attribution problem.
The attribution, probably.
Yes, it's the classic confusion between correlation and causation.
Hmm.
Vendors love to claim credit for a sale simply because a customer's name happened to be residing in their software tool at the time of the transaction.
Oh, wow. So the dealership needs to ask, did the tool actually cause that sale?
Exactly. Because maybe that customer's lease was literally expiring on Friday and they had to bring the car back regardless.
Right. Or maybe they just came in for a routine oil change, wandered onto the showroom floor, and fell in love with a new model.
Or they saw a highly targeted Facebook ad that had absolutely nothing to do with the CRM vendor's equity list. Being tracked in a vendor system is not the same thing as being converted by that system.
So dealers need to ask if the tool actually created incremental sales.
Yes, an incremental sale is a transaction that absolutely would not have happened without the specific intervention of that software.
Okay, so if the generic "we need your trade" approach alienates customers, frustrates the staff, and the vendors might just be taking credit for organic sales, do we just throw the whole software in the trash?
Not necessarily.
So how do you actually salvage this concept?
The source material makes it clear that the underlying concept, equity, is not worthless. Trade position and financial leverage matter immensely in a transaction, but you have to completely flip the script.
Okay.
You cannot use the mathematical data as the primary trigger. You have to pair the math with an actual real-life human motivation.
The source outlines a better version of equity mining that does exactly this.
Yes. Instead of blanket calling everyone with equity, you wait for a life event. You use equity as just one signal combined with a trigger.
Let's share some specific examples from the text. One of the formulas they mention is a service customer with a major repair bill plus possible equity.
That is the perfect example. A customer drives into the service department, the mechanic does an inspection and hands them a massive, painful repair estimate for, say, a blown head gasket.
That is definitely a life event. That is pressure.
Huge pressure. And then you check the software. If the system shows that this specific customer also have positive equity, suddenly you have a highly relevant conversation.
Because you aren't calling them out of the blue with generic spam.
Right. You are offering a financial escape hatch to a problem they are actively experiencing.
I love that. Another example from the source is a lease customer 90 days from maturity plus possible equity.
Yes. Not calling them 2 years early to ask for the car, but engaging them exactly 90 days out when the anxiety of what to do next is actively on their mind, and then identifying they have equity that can cover their disposition fees or a down payment.
The life event must precede the math.
Always.
So what does this all mean? It means the best equity campaigns don't actually use the word equity.
No, normal people don't sit at their kitchen table speaking the language of dealership finance. They don't say, I wonder if our loan-to-value ratio is in a positive position today.
Right. They speak the language of their own friction. They ask, can I lower my payment? Or should I drop $3,000 to fix this car or move on?
When a business leads with the customer's actual problem, equity simply becomes the mechanism for the solution.
Equity isn't the headline anymore. It becomes the solution to the customer's declared pain. It changes the entire dynamic from being a telemarketer to being an advisor.
And that shift restores trust.
To wrap up this deep dive, the ultimate takeaway here is that equity mining only becomes a catastrophic waste of money when it's treated as a magic list of ready buyers instead of what it really is, just a financial signal.
Right.
A dashboard opportunity is not a showroom appointment. A pure trade estimate will never replace human motivation. A buyer who raises their hand with a specific problem is worth infinitely more than a mathematically attractive name on a cold call list.
I completely agree. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, one that stretches far beyond just buying a car.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have spent this deep dive exploring how businesses mistake raw financial data for emotional intent in car sales. But look at your own inbox right now. Look at the targeted ads you get served every single day.
Everywhere.
How many other industries are blindly mining your data, trying to invent a problem for you to solve simply because an algorithm decided you have the disposable income to afford the solution?
That is a little creepy to think about.
It is. Maybe the future of truly successful marketing isn't about building more aggressive algorithms to predict what we can buy. Maybe it's about getting back to the fundamental basics of human connection and simply asking us what we actually need.
It really makes you wonder who is looking at your data right now, thinking they have a perfect treasure map, completely unaware that they are marching straight into a swamp. Until next time, keep questioning the algorithms.